Hey, what's up, folks? I have a special guest, Clint from Liberty Lockdown, to join me for 3 stories of the day. The first story is the White Coat Summit doctors from 2020 who opposed lockdowns and were speaking out against government tyranny returned to Washington to stand in front of the Supreme Court with 100,000 signatures in opposition to Fauci and a lot more. I'll read their official statement from their website on today's show. Second story is Joe Biden's administration is banning the sales of incandescent light bulbs, and it starts this Tuesday on August 1st. Why? Well, for his climate goals, among other reasons. We'll talk about it. And then the third story is aliens are back and nobody seems to care. Do you buy it? Personally, I don't. But we'll get Clint's opinion too and read some of yours aloud. God bless you guys. Dream Rare Podcast starts now. It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Dream Rare Podcast. I'm here with Clint from Liberty Lockdown. Nice entry.
I'm flying in, dude. I'm setting up my my monetization on X on Twitter right now.
Oh, you're good. And actually, I want to talk about that later. But do you know where I got that picture of you with the mouth open? Like, I searched your name. Do you know where I got that?
Where'd it come from?
It was from the Southern Poverty Law Center, article of you. Because I Googled your name and I was laughing at it because I was like, it's the perfect reaction face. And I put one too, but I was like, Clint might think that's funny. But yeah, what did they say about you? Why did they write about you?
When the Mises Caucus took over the Libertarian Party, I was one of like the 3 or 4 more prominent people within the Mises Caucus. So that's the photo they took, and they said that the Mises Caucus was like some white nationalist takeover of the Libertarian Party, even though none of us are racist, and like our leader was Dave Smith, who's a Jewish dude. It's like it's all so stupid.
Right. Yeah. No, I didn't even know they said that, but I guess it's because you guys are anti-government, or I would say for small government. So anybody that opposes government, they have to smear some sort of like radical racist. But from what I've seen from all of you guys, like race you guys don't talk about it at all. Like no. even less than conservatives talk about it, I would say on average.
We talk about it way less than the liberals do, dude.
Yeah.
They're the ones that talk about it constantly. So yeah, we don't talk about it hardly at all.
Before we start too, I want to say we're going to talk about Ilhan Omar said something about like white men. I don't know. She's like crying about white men, even though they all date white men. That's my quick hot take. But we're going to talk behind the Patreon wall after this. So YouTube chat's open. I have to fulfill that. I haven't done one in a while. So to those who want some extra content, let's get into the first story real quick. It is the White Coat Summit physicians. This is Simone Gold, Stella Emanuel. Joseph Ladapo used to be there. We'll talk about that in a second, who's Surgeon General. Dr. Robert Malone, who made like wavelengths, I would say, just caught on fire with his Joe Rogan podcast, made Neil Young cry and try to take it off Spotify. They came back to the White House to Washington, D.C. and to the Supreme Court with 100,000 signatures, and they're going after the Fauci, CDC, etc. Real quick, before we weigh in on it and I read that story, I want to play this clip from Representative Ralph Norman. I guess he's a congressional guy from the House in South Carolina. He was actually there, and he said some interesting stuff about the liability of certain vaccines. So let's just watch that clip.
Found out from one of the doctors that, and I didn't realize this, and the 3 of us will work on this, vaccine manufacturers, I don't care if it kills all of you standing in front of here, cannot be sued and held liable. How fair is that? That's not the American.
And real quick, I just want to explain to people, not all vaccines, but anyone that is done during an emergency, like during the COVID pandemic, it's protected under the PrEP Act. And I try to tell people that so many times because that should make you think a little bit if they can warp speed it to the public because they don't have liability for side effects and injuries. And if it wasn't an emergency, they wouldn't have that. And also there's something called the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act. If they put it in the childhood vaccine schedule, they also don't have liability. So the cash cow for pharma is to get your vaccine through an emergency or into the childhood vaccine schedule. Yeah, I just want to get your opinion.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I mean, I think it's terrible. This is which vaccines are not covered under the PrEP Act? Like,
yeah, I guess I would think if it's not an emergency, then they're not covered under the PrEP Act. But I know that most of them are jammed into the childhood vaccine schedule now. So I can't tell you off top which ones aren't covered by that, but a lawyer would probably be able to tell you. Because to be honest, I know there's like a bunch of vaccines they give kids. I know there's the flu shot. I don't know if they consider that a vaccine or a shot, but I'm at this point, I'm not the target market for these dozens of medical shots. I'm over it.
Neither am I, but I was just thinking to myself, because I know that they've been trying to push the HPV vaccine on younger and younger people. I was just thinking as you were talking about it, if they were trying to get that under the childhood vaccine, protection area.
Right. And I think with the COVID one, they're trying to do that as well, because I don't think the PrEP Act lasts forever. So, I think they might already have it in the childhood schedule. I'd have to look at that. But let me get to the story real quick. So Simone Gold, she wrote on her Twitter account, she said, breaking, physicians gather at Supreme Court of the United States with over 100,000 petition signatures to call for an investigation into Fauci's misdealings and corruptions. I want to read just a part. They have whitecoatsummit.com. They said the propaganda campaign led by Fauci, the CDC, the FDA, the WHO, and others have been exposed as a still growing torrent of revelations and post-pandemic data. And yet these bureaucrats continue their destructive reign, seemingly without any consequence for their proven failures and mounting evidence of their corruption. White Coat Summit, the reckoning is a crucial marker in the public dialogue and policy debate, as AFLDS brings an unmatched consortium of proven medical, scientific, and legal expertise to present truthful and complete picture of the great COVID debacle. So this was huge during the pandemic, because obviously they'd say, you're not an expert, you're not a doctor. So a bunch of doctors went in their white lab coats and said, we are doctors, we oppose lockdowns, we do believe that there's alternate medications. And it created like the craziest media storm we've ever seen. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my mom's a huge fan of Simone Gold, so she's going to be ecstatic that we're talking about this. She was actually trying to get me to watch these, like the telecast that it was happening live. I mean, I'm thrilled to see it, man. If they if the 100,000 signatures are real and they can actually pressure Congress into doing the investigation. I was actually just listening to Vivek Ramaswamy on Twitter Spaces or X Spaces. I'm never going to start calling it X. I'm giving it up. It's Twitter Spaces. He was on with Elon Musk, and they were talking, about a bunch of stuff, and they talked a little bit about, the origin story for COVID. I was in the queue to talk, and I was chomping at the bit to try and ask this question, but I really want a presidential candidate to run on investigating and prosecuting everyone involved in that story. And with this 100,000 signatures, hopefully it helps us get us there.
I saw Vivek, I don't know when the video was put out, but I saw Lauren Chen. I started following her, and she tweeted it, and it said essentially that he got 2 shots himself. And in hindsight, he pulled a Ben Shapiro basically and said, like, I wouldn't have gotten them if I know what I know now. And to be honest, I respect that. And that's a lot more than Donald Trump will do. I find it just fascinating. I don't want to get into Trump now because I know people are going to cry, and it seems like I'm forcing it. But like the entire Republican Party, you have Ben Shapiro says, in hindsight, I wouldn't have got it. You have Vivek Ramaswamy, a pharma CEO, who says, in hindsight, I wouldn't got it. Everybody's echoing this except for Donald Trump, who still will call himself the father of the vaccine. And he'll still to this day in 2023 say it saved 100 million lives. It's like no one around him believes that. But he's like the only one now that won't, have even like an ounce of like a reflection on it and be like, you know what? They asked him, like, what do you think about what you did in COVID? He's like, it wouldn't change a thing. I am flawless, and the people were like, oh my God. But
no, it's very frustrating, man. And this is, we talked about this last week. That's the only reason I'm able to give Vivek grace on his, like, the fact that he made his fortune in the pharma industry and the fact that he was talking about masking and things like that, 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. It's like, all right, well, as long as you're willing to own your mistakes and to acknowledge where your mind was at then and why it's changed, like everyone, I think people are much more, willing to forgive, particularly if you weren't even responsible for those terrible policies. Like I'm totally open to forgiving anybody that was duped in the first year of lockdowns, but you just have to own it and you have to explain it, and Trump won't do it.
Yeah, and Vivek, the inbox is open. I heard from his camp that he was interested in coming on, but I haven't seen it. I'm a scary interviewer, so hopefully he comes on because I'd love to chat with him.
Me too, man.
Speaking of Simone Gold, shout out Mama Liberty Lockdown, who likes Simone. She actually was sentenced to 60 days in prison for apparently entering a restricted area on January 6th, which sucks. You know, she went to the Capitol and got bopped for that. And then I don't know if she served her sentence. I'm guessing she did. And she's out still doing protests, which is very courageous of her, you know, especially after kind of being probably tricked into going to like a setup event, that she's still out here. It didn't stop her for 1 second doing what she loves to do. I'm just going to read another quote from the White House, or I'm sorry, the whitecoatsummit.com website. It says, "We will bring the receipts with extensive documented evidence and scientific study. We will bring the law examining the subversion of the constitutional due process and the history of legal precedent that necessitates punishment for crimes against humanity, and we will bring the voice of the people with petitions individually signed and submitted calling for necessary retribution and legitimate justice." And Simone's interesting because I believe she's a doctor and a lawyer. So they're kind of hitting it from both angles here. They're saying, we are doctors, we are experts, we're the ones you smeared. We're back and we're looking at the legal retribution of some sort to what you guys did.
Well, and they should. I mean, think about how, like, just not just the reputational damage, but also the financial damage that all of these doctors, had to experience because of the misinformation that Fauci was pushing, and these people are trying to correct the record in real time, doing what, upholding their Hippocratic oath to do no harm, to actually look after their patients, to actually seek the best protocols, and they almost were ruined for it. It's tragic.
Right. I'm just going to go through a few individual cases of White Coat Summit people because there's a lot of legends there. One of them is Stella Emanuel, and she's probably the wilder one out of the bunch. But we love Stella Emanuel here, and by here I mean me because it's just me. But she basically was under heat at first because she was talking about the medications that must not be named. And what I found interesting was she was a doctor, she had prescribed them, and she was sharing her analysis of what happened to her patients. So the media, of course, the Ivor must not be named and the hydroxy must not be named. It was like if someone's talking about it or Trump's talking about it, the media's like, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. Trump's not a doctor. But she's like, I am a doctor. I did use this. It did, work on my patients. And this is my story. And, now you got to ask whether you believe her or not. But that was what they first went at her for. And then I don't know what she said, but I remember all the headlines being like, she's talking about demon sperm. And, that was like the thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like demon sperm. And I'm like, I don't know what she's talking about, but I agree, No, I'm just kidding. Demon sperm sounds reasonable to me. I don't get what the fuss is about.
If Fauci is involved, I think that might actually be what it is. I've had on Pierre Corey and Robert Malone and Dr. Latipo. It's like I've just had on so many of the doctors that were actually courageous during this time, and it's very easy to forget about them, to say, man, we were just like abandoned in our time of need. But in truth, there was thousands of doctors that actually did the right thing when we needed them. And it's just tragic that the media, buried these people. Like they were truly heroic when we needed them most.
Well, I had to look it up, and I was like, do I want to type demon sperm into Google? I feel like that's just bad. That's like a weird thing to type, So I did get around it though. I just typed Stella Emanuel demon. Not that they're gonna think I think she's that. I do not. I think she's an angel. She's a beautiful angel. But anyway, I just want to read an article on it. It says, coronavirus doctor touted by Trump. I believe in demonic spirits that sleep with women, not demon sperm. A doctor who had warned about the public about the dangers of alien DNA and sexual predatory night terrors defended her work. She said, I was talking about demonic spirits that sleep with women at night. They just use demon sperm to discredit me. I don't know if that's true or not, but I do think there are demonic women out here sleeping with people at night. And, I think they call, what is it? Sleep paralysis. They have, that is a real thing, dude. People wake up in the night. It happened to me one time when I was like,
me too,
after college. And it was like, I was having a dream and it was getting like real sexy. Like, I'm not trying to pull what was that lady's name who said she was going to sleep with her fiance before? Oh, Nancy Mace.
Oh, Nancy Mace. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not trying to pull Nancy Mace, but let's just say in my dream, I thought a beautiful woman was like looking over my shoulder and I was feeling myself. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm passed out. I'm like, oh man, this is going to get crazy. And then like next thing you know, it was like a demon witch. It was like, ah. And then I woke up and I thought I was being strangled in my room by a woman. You know what I'm saying? I thought I was going to like die, and I snapped out of it. It was like, oh, I started breathing. I was like, what the hell was that? And then I started doing like hours and days of research on sleep paralysis. And it's the craziest thing. So, here we don't condemn Stella Emanuel. We condemn those who condemn her. Are there demons sleeping with people at night? Only God can judge. And,
That's right.
I don't know.
I had it one time. Mine was not as fun because it was not a sex dream, but I just was like laying there. I couldn't move my arms or my legs, and at the end of my bed, there was this like ghost, like not ghostly, like shadowy figure that just came in, like, but it was facing me, but it was like right at the feet of my bed, and I couldn't move for the life of me, and it was just, and then I like snapped awake. It was terrifying. So yeah, shout out to that doctor who's warning us about it.
Right. She's just out here saying what we all are thinking. But anyway, I don't know everything she said, but now they're going to blame me for all of it and take like a Southern poverty law picture. No, I'm just kidding.
That's
but
right.
Hopefully not. Anyway,
let's join the cool kids. Everybody, all the cool kids get written up by the SPLC.
We're going to go through some other legends at the thing. Here's someone who wasn't there this time, probably because he's in Florida, but I have a picture of it because a lot of people don't know this. That right there is Joseph Ladapo. That's the Surgeon General of Florida. You can see Stella Emanuel, Simone Gold behind him. He was there in 2020. This is one of my favorite things about DeSantis that a lot of people don't know. He hired that guy who was actually there fighting lockdowns and speaking about things they didn't want you to speak about. DeSantis put him at Surgeon General, which is probably the top health position in Florida. There's really no other example of this. Trump did not hire anybody like this in the health department. No other governor seems to be hiring anybody like this. If you want to talk about outsiders and, people hiring real people to take on the pharma swamp, I don't think there's a single person that's done more in government than DeSantis. I mean, one could argue that RFK has done a lot through legal means and elsewhere, but when it comes to actual government wielding power to take on big pharma, no one has done more in the Republican Party than DeSantis, and he doesn't get credit for that. For whatever reason.
No, he should get a tremendous amount of credit. I mean, I talked to Dr. Ladapo earlier this year, and the guy's awesome. I mean, and the fact that DeSantis picked him out of relative obscurity, he wasn't like some super well-known guy, and put him into the top medical position for the state of Florida was a big part of the reason I moved here. I mean, Dr. Ladapo was telling the truth throughout. He was talking about risk versus rewards. He was actually giving the people the information so that they can make their own decisions. He and DeSantis both worked in tandem in complete opposition to the mandates. That is, I mean, we talked last week about, why I don't trust DeSantis just because of his foreign policy. If this is why I love him as a governor, because there's no foreign policy involved with a governorship, but he was absolutely tremendous in this area.
And people said that Trump hired Scott Atlas, but he was sidelined. Scott Atlas had no power. I mean, the Surgeon General has power, has governmental power. Scott Atlas was there. Nobody listened to him, and then he got kicked to the curb. So that doesn't really count. If Trump would have put Scott Atlas at HHS and FDA, we might not have had the tyranny we had. So he,
Dude, if he had just followed Scott Atlas's advice, like if he just followed his advice, we would have been, he would have basically done what Ladapo and DeSantis did, but he didn't. So
right. Another person who was there was Dr. Robert Malone, and Dr. Robert Malone and Peter McCullough were two people who really, I think, changed the discourse in 2021. I think it was 2021, because, a lot of people will say, well, you're not a doctor. You're not a credible doctor. And I believe that whatever the field is that Peter McCullough studies, he's the most published figure in medical. Cardiologist. And what is he? He has the most
peer-reviewed published papers.
Right. So to say that guy is not an expert is insane when he's probably a top expert or the top expert in that field. And I think it was back to back or within the same week, you had Rogan put out the Peter McCullough interview, and it was fantastic. It was amazing. And Peter McCullough is very calculated and very reasonable. And then you had Dr. Robert Malone, and do you remember the word? I think it was like mass formation psychosis. He just said that's basically like saying brainwashing. What is a brain? Like when everyone does the same thing, he just gave it his own branding. It was like mass formation psychosis, and the media was like, mass formation psychosis is a conspiracy theory. It's not real. It's made up. It's crazy, and it's like he's just rebranding brainwashing, and it caught on, and everyone was like, that's what I saw. That's what happened, and. Yeah, that alone made Neil Young cry and remove his music temporarily from Spotify.
Yeah, dude. I still can't believe I got to talk to Dr. Malone. That episode of Rogan for me was as paradigm shifting as anything that happened in all of the past 3 years. Like, it was so powerful because this guy is actually, responsible for much of the back history in the development of mRNA. And it's like, so you can't say he doesn't know what he's talking about. Like,
he owns patents, right? He owns multiple patents in the technology.
Yeah, and he worked in that that field for years. So it's like you just can't dismiss him. You can't do it.
Right.
And he and Peter McCullough were both banned permanently from Twitter and probably everywhere else. They only got brought back once Elon acquired it. But I think that those examples of the censorship are so profound because it's like, it's not just you and I that are being suspended or banned. These are the highest of experience and intellect. Like all the media does, all the politicians do is they appeal to authority, right? They go, oh, well, you got to listen to the science. You got to listen to the scientist, Dr. Fauci, his experience, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, does Dr. Fauci know more about mRNA than Dr. Robert Malone? Does Dr. Fauci know more about the effects of these vaccines on the heart than the top cardiologists on earth? Like,
right.
No, he doesn't. So if you want to play the appeal to authority game, well, I got you on that one too.
One of my most censored videos, I think it got taken off of Facebook, maybe not Facebook, but Instagram. But it got taken off multiple ones. It was basically, I did a biography of Kary Mullis, and I'm going to say it's one of my better pieces of journalism because I didn't even say he was 100% right. I said Kary Mullis, in fact, is the inventor of the PCR test. Here's 5 unknown facts about Kary Mullis. And I did like a great journalistic piece where I said, 1, he took a lot of LSD. You know what I'm saying? This is not me co-signing people taking it all the time. I'm just saying this guy took LSD and invented the PCR test. That's a true story. I read his biography. And then I also said he didn't like Anthony Fauci, which is true. He went on a great rant saying Fauci's a phony. I would debate him anytime, any place. He also was talking during the HIV AIDS thing about what he thought about the PCR test being used to determine if you're sick or not. And I'm not going to repeat what he said because I think that's why it got censored. However, he was basically saying that the PCR test isn't wrong. It just zooms in, and just because you find stuff doesn't necessarily mean that's what made you sick. And that was his analysis of his own thing. And that video got deleted. So this is what the mainstream media and social media does. If you're not a doctor, they say you're not a doctor. If you're not a quote unquote expert, they say you're not an expert. If you are a doctor and you are an expert, they say you're crazy. They say you're a kook. They say you're a conspiracy theorist. If you're white and you're for small government, they say you're a white supremacist or whatever. Right. If you're black and you say it, they still say you're a white supremacist, or they say you're a sellout and a race traitor. If you're a woman and you speak against their agenda, they'll say you hate yourself and you're against women. So, they have a game to play. I think some people actually believe them and they're like, oh yeah, they just want to protect us from the non-experts. It's like, there's people who have won Nobel Prizes, Luc Montagnier being one. He's a Nobel Prize winner. He disagreed with the analysis of COVID. Kary Mullis disagreed with them when he was alive. Obviously, Robert Malone and Peter McCullough are not Nobel Prize winners, but they're great doctors in their own right. And these are the games they play.
Yeah. Oh, and I mean, Pierre Corey also, he was doing his own war path during that period, and right. That's the drug we definitely can't talk about. But I mean, there's just so many examples, man, and I have to remind myself, how many heroic people there were, and I really hope that despite the fact that their lives were, thrown into such turmoil, that in the the long arc of human history that they will be remembered fondly. We'll see.
And I want to say, to wrap this one up, thank you to Simone Gold and all these people stepping up and standing up. And, I personally don't think anything's really going to happen to Fauci or anyone, but I'm not going to poo-poo these doctors and say that they're just there for their own, because they are raising money for something. And
Sure.
I like, for most people, if they weren't there in 2020, I'd be like, oh yeah, this is just a virtue signal. This is just. But with them, when it wasn't popular, when no one was doing it, they were really the first ones to mass organize as doctors and experts and took it to Washington to step up. So I'm not going to say they could do no wrong in my eyes, but the fact that they're reconvening now, I respect these people. I trust these people more than people who weren't there, and they deserve all the love now. They deserve their flowers. And when it wasn't popular and when both parties were deceiving us, it was Joseph Ladapo, Simone Gold, Stella Emanuel, Robert Malone, Peter McCullough. I don't know if he was there. Maybe it took him later, but these were the doctors that were there to speak out. Someone said Dr. Buttar, who died. That's kind of crazy. That's a crazy story. I haven't fully covered it yet because I don't know what to think, but Dr. Rashad Buttar was one of those like speaking out. And then he did a CNN interview and he was like, they poisoned, like, I don't know. It's pretty crazy.
Whoa. I got to look into that one. That's interesting. I haven't even heard about it.
Yeah. Look into that. But I don't know. Some people are saying, I'm not even going to speak on it because I'll fully cover it if I can, before I like say this or that. But anyway, we'll get to the second story, and it's Joe Biden and his administration, his Department of Energy, is officially banning incandescent light bulb sales. And I did a whole article on it. Have you seen the meme where it's like, look at me, I'm the master now, or whatever? You seen that one?
Yeah. For sure.
I'm like, look at me, I'm the journalist now, because I'm tired of people writing crappy articles, so I just started writing my own articles.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'm just going to cover it from what I did today. I have the article here. I think it's a massive story for multiple reasons. But anyway, they're saying, I'm going to read officially from the federal website. They say once these light bulb rules are put into place, which will be August 1st on Tuesday, Department of Energy expects consumers to save nearly $3 billion per year on utility bills, in addition to delivering significant cost savings for households, schools, businesses. These energy efficiency actions are also advance President Biden's climate goals. Over the next 30 years, the rules are projected to cut carbon emissions by 222 million metric tons, an amount equivalent to the emission generated by 28 million homes in 1 year. So they're saying that we're doing this to save energy. We're doing this to meet climate goals. But I do want to say a lot of influencers are saying LED lights aren't healthy. Yes, they're convenient and they're easy, but having these blue lights and weird lights in your face aren't healthy. This is backed up by The Guardian, recently reported on it. And they said that certain scientists have been studying the negative health impact of LED light use. And it says, while LED light is more energy efficient and costs less to run, the researchers say that increased blue light radiation is causing substantial biological impacts across the continent. They're talking about Europe in this one. The study also claims that previous research into the effects of light pollution have underestimated the impacts of blue light radiation. So
I'll say, I've been an entrepreneur most of my adult life, but I did have a year or two where I was doing like corporate work, and I have never experienced greater torment than being in like those cubicles with that lighting that they're talking about. I don't know what kind of lighting it is. If it's, I really don't know what it's called, but
LED.
It's just, maybe it's LED. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know, but it was terrible. It was so like, I am a total believer that there is something about the certain light bulb technology that is really not good for people.
Yeah, I have a bunch of LED lights in my face right now. I was actually looking into incandescent lights months ago because the con is they are a lot harder to use. Like, say you have 5 lights in your face that are incandescent, they get extremely hot. So it's way less convenient than LED, but also it's easier to make microwavable food than it is to cook it in the oven or on the stove. Does that mean it's healthier? No. So, I think that LED lights are already messing with me. Like I had perfect vision my whole life. And they say that maybe I like slept on it wrong, or like, I don't know, my eyes, I'm taking like little medication because they've been like a little puffy. So hopefully it returns when it goes away. I used to have 20/10 vision. Perfect. I still do, but my one's slightly blurry. And they're thinking that I forget the name of it, but if you like sleep on it too much or like jam it in, there's a name for it. I think it's a stigmatism. Astigmatism. They're saying it might be that my eyes are whatever, but I'm convinced. I stare at lights all the time. My cell phone, these lights, like when I got 1 light, 2 light, 3 lights, LED lights in my face, but if I turned it off, it don't look as good. You know what I'm saying? I look like I'm at the dark side with the LED light. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, plus
your
plus your future's so bright. you're constantly looking towards the future, so it's got to
Yeah.
hurt your eyes at some point.
Yeah, and that's the price of success, man. When you shine so bright, you know what I'm saying? I shine so bright, I think I'm blinding myself. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. Could you imagine like unironically saying that? You're like, dude,
Yo,
my swag's so bright, dog. My chain blank so hard that everybody gets blinds when I walk into it. IHOP.
I blind every woman I date, man. It's brutal.
Yeah, but they block me not because they don't like me and they don't respect me, just because they're so attracted to my swag that they block me and we put out a restraining order. But that's just how hot I am. No, I'm just kidding. I've never had a restraining order. I'm not that crazy. Anyway,
Incredible.
this is a serious show. Now, we'll get back to the the article. So, Biden starting August 1st, it will be illegal for retailers to sell incandescent lights. As a libertarian, what do you think about just banning light bulbs and saying, I'm going to save you money by just not making it legal to sell?
Well, I mean, I assume that they justify it under the Commerce Clause because that's how they tend to regulate things that they have no constitutional authority to do so. I oppose it. I mean, obviously, I oppose it. I think that if the market desires something that is more efficient and will save them money, and because like this is what I don't understand about these arguments, these green crusaders, like if you've looked at what it costs for your utilities, like they're pretty damn high. You have to pay quite a bit of money. So if these light bulbs are so superior, people are going to transition naturally. Like you don't have to incentivize them. And on the inverse of that, like they've already been subsidizing so much of the the green technology innovations. So you have subsidies that are already driving the price down of the light bulbs that they want us to migrate towards. So they're already cheaper than they would be in a free market, and now you're just going to ban their competition outright.
Right.
It's terrible, man. And for damn sure that they have the lobbyists for whatever the technology is that is replacing these light bulbs that are being banned. I guarantee you that they're contributing heavily to the campaigns of the Democrats.
Yeah, I haven't looked into it, but the money flows. I don't know of a single corporate, I would say category that isn't giving money to somebody. But I think LED lights are naturally already taking over because they are cheaper and easier. But
Right.
I don't know if people know this, but I'm no Thomas Edison. However, or Nikola Tesla, whoever you want to credit. But
I shine brighter than both of them, but whatever.
My Stella Emmanuel intuition tells me that there's demons in the LED lights. No, I'm just kidding. No, my intuition tells me that, the incandescent lights get hot because it's a more natural burn. It's a more natural glow.
Mm.
And the way fire's hot and the sun is hot and it lights up the planet, the incandescent light gets hot because it's more natural. The LED light doesn't get hot because it's more artificial. So, I would assume that LED lights are less healthy just by nature. But soon that's going to be a bannable conspiracy theory if it's already not. Although I do see a lot of like health trad influencers, like meat eating carnivore workout bros. They're all about like, LEDs bad. Like you're starting to see it a lot on Instagram and TikTok before I got banned.
Interesting. Yeah, I honestly haven't seen it, but I'm also not on TikTok, so maybe that's why. I don't have a strong opinion on this one. I mean, obviously, I oppose any sort of industry-wide ban. I think that it's clear crony capitalism, and it's paternalistic, and it's ultimately, the consequences of these types of policies is that we have a less free market, we have less competition, and ultimately prices rise at a pace that's artificial. So if people are sick of their cost of living skyrocketing in every way, you need to oppose this stuff, including the Federal Reserve, which is ultimately responsible for the vast majority of it.
Hey, how we go from light bulbs to the Federal Reserve?
I'm a libertarian, bro.
Very libertarian, dude. We're trying to talk about light bulbs here, and you're blaming Janet Yellen, dude. This is not the next story. And by the way, I'm going to read the super chats from now on. So if you guys super chat on YouTube, hold on. It has something to do with Janet Yellen taking magic mushrooms in China, and I was like, stop trying to make me like Janet Yellen.
I know, dude. Crazy.
Okay, here it is. Ready? The Independent says Treasury Secretary Yellen reportedly ate hallucinogenic mushrooms at a restaurant during a China visit, but apparently, I don't know if that was like the restaurant gave her hallucinogenic mushrooms, I guess that they're trying to say, but I thought she was just having a good time. She's like, listen, I own the money. Nom, 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 nom. And then she's like, whoa, she just has she's like, whoa. She's like, isn't it kind of crazy? Like that we just print money from thin air? And they're like, Janet, we've been telling you that for decades now. She's like, I know, but it seems kind of crazy now. Like, aren't we kind of causing inflation?
Unless she resigns immediately, she did not take a high enough dose. Because I'm a firm believer that if you take a heroic dose of mushrooms, there's no way you could be involved in the Federal Reserve.
I don't know. I read the headline. Obviously, they always make it misleading to get you to click. But I thought she was just tripping, just and it's like Xi Jinping or whatever. It's like, hey, and she's just looking at him. They're like, you're all right, Janet. But I guess she ate it at a restaurant.
Quick correction. I believe she's the head of the Treasury, by the way.
She's the head of the Treasury. Okay.
Yeah, she used to be involved with the Fed, though.
Okay. Yeah. That's I guess what is that? The government's right-hand man to the Federal Reserve? Money controller.
Yeah.
But the Fed's a quote unquote independent. It's just a totally independent, nonpartisan money printing brigade.
Except for when we have a banking crisis, in which case the Federal Reserve as well as the Treasury get together in a back room and they create short-term lending vehicles to bail out only the biggest banks and allow the small ones to fail. So sure, very independent, even though they work hand in hand with the Treasury.
Thanks for correcting me, by the way, because I the other day I meant to say that Ronald Reagan passed the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act, and someone's like, "Why'd you say RFK Jr. passed it?" I was like, "I didn't, did I?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Yeah, somebody tell me next time," because I'm not, sometimes I'm in a rant and I say the wrong name.
Right.
I was thinking about this too, because everyone always makes fun of Biden when he messes up because he is 80 and he falls asleep. But if you talk enough, you're going to mess up, especially for hours on end. So on one way, I can't stand Biden. He's banning light bulbs and he's a psychopath. On another hand, as someone who live streams, I'm not stupid or old, but you talk enough and you get on a rant, you're bound to say the wrong name once in a while. I know that because I say it. I do it all the time.
Yeah, man. Same. I hope people have grace for that, especially now that I'm involved in it and I do it full time. It's like, yeah, dude, you're going to say some dumb stuff periodically or just, mix up a name or whatever. But
yeah,
I'm trying to debate some kid on Federal Reserve and interest rate setting policy on Liberty Lockdown tonight. So hopefully I don't screw up, because those are that's the one thing libertarians will not forgive. If I lose a debate about Federal Reserve and interest rate policy, there's no coming back from that.
Right. Last story I want to do, and then we're going to take it behind the paywall. Anybody that's a Facebook subscriber, a Patreon subscriber, and now a Twitter subscriber, I appreciate you. We do bonus content. We try to do it every month for you guys. So thanks to people who support there. But the last story is this alien story. Do you know the full story? I believe someone went in front of Congress and testified that there was a non-human UFO or something.
It was a biologics. We have 2 biologics, which who knows what that means? Does it mean mold spores? Does it mean there was a goat that was launched into outer space and then landed on Earth? I don't know what it means.
I see.
My personal opinion, it strikes me as nonsense because, and this is a very, very simple explanation. If this guy is telling the truth, one, he would have actual evidence. He wouldn't have secondhand. I talked to someone. I talked to multiple people that are involved in this program, and he would actually deliver the evidence. And if he had the evidence and he was going to deliver it, he would either not be alive because the government doesn't want you to know. And if they do want us to know, then it's going to be a presidential address. You're telling me that the government has known that there's extraterrestrial life forms. They have visited us. They're a danger to us, according to this dude. And Biden is not going to sit down and have, one of those cameras direct in his face where he addresses the American people and says, hey, this is what we're up against. This is what we know. It can't be this middle ground. It just doesn't make any sense.
Right. I remember I don't want to misquote this because I do want to accurately report it, but I think it was Tom DeLonge. He's the Blink-182 guy that is the alien guy now. I remember I think he did a podcast with Rogan and his story, don't quote me on this, but from my memory, from my Joe Biden memory, it was something along the lines of, he sat down with the CIA guy or something, and the guy told him about aliens. And then he started this little company with ex-government guys. And it's that's not gaining my trust. Sorry. I'm like, oh, that sounds legit. And now they're releasing all this stuff oh, it's a UFO means unidentified flying object. So it could be a drone. It could be something that we don't understand, a species we've never seen. I'm not saying that it's impossible per se, but I don't buy that it's, it's like, oh yeah, like we've discovered something that like wasn't human. And everyone's like, whoa, I'm going to go buy a NASA shirt from Kohl's now. It's like,
here's the thing. I have, for the longest time, I have been fascinated with aliens or extraterrestrial life. I've always believed that that there's just virtually no chance that we're alone in the universe. It just doesn't make any sense to me unless we're in a simulation, or unless the Bible's right, and the humans are the whole purpose of this entire existence. Then okay, maybe. So I'm of the belief that aliens exist. I am not buying this at all. I just flatly do not believe that even if they have what they're describing, just show us. You can't we have no trust of you, and for good reason. So you've known this for 70 plus years, and you're just going to have some dude say that he's talked to people and it's all true? No. Show me. Give me the evidence, man. Where's the video? Where's the autopsies? Where's the super HD footage of this stuff? Not this infrared garbage that I can't even tell what I'm looking at. Like, none of it has been real evidence. And until I see that, I'm just not buying it.
Yeah, I don't, the more I get into space, the less popular my beliefs go. Cause I'm like, the more I look into it, all the stuff that we do in space, they're always doing within Earth's atmosphere. This is what I'll say, because I don't like to say things I can't prove and make people think I'm crazy. But
you think we've never been to outer space? Oh, let's go.
All right, here's what I'm gonna say. This is on NASA's website, right? I don't study conspiracy theories. I go straight to the source. My boys at NASA, the Don Pettits of the world, the Buzz Aldrins, you know what I'm saying? The legends, the Space Boys. No, but
Space Boys.
So I looked at a chart, right, that showed where the International Space Station was, where the Hubble telescope was, right? Where I think there was one other thing there, and all of them were in Earth's atmosphere. According to NASA's website. So what I learned by studying NASA was space doesn't mean outside of Earth's atmosphere. That's what I assumed. I assumed you have Earth, you have our atmosphere, and when you break through our atmosphere, you're in space.
That's what I always thought.
It's not true. According to NASA, space is just above a certain, I don't know if it's 100 miles or 80 miles. They have a certain, like if you're above that, that's space. And Hubble telescope is in Earth's atmosphere, according to the NASA document that I was looking at. The International Space Station, it's in space, but it's also within Earth's atmosphere. There's a space.com article that says that the moon might even be within Earth's atmosphere because Earth's atmosphere might travel way further than we even can comprehend. That's space.com. That's mainstream stuff. I believe that there's like European Space Agency saying the same. So this started I was like, well, everything we do is within Earth's atmosphere. And if they're telling the truth and the moon really is within Earth's atmosphere, then even that was within our atmosphere. So, stuff like that started just getting me thinking. And now I'm one of those guys that just, I don't believe any of the mainstream narratives around it. And, the more they talk, the dumber it sounds. Like they were going to launch. I talked about this on Alex Stein's show yesterday. He wanted to bring it up. There was supposed to be an all-female space launch. I don't know where they were going or pretending to go, but they were going to launch women to space. And they canceled it last second because the spacesuits didn't fit. And apparently they didn't know that beforehand. It's like, dude, imagine like Steph Curry being like, yo, I got to sit out of the game. My jersey doesn't fit. Like you don't have like massive trials, dude. You know what I'm saying?
Like such nonsense. That's crazy.
You want me to read the headline real quick? I'm going to read it.
Yeah.
Female space canceled suit fit. Ready? BuzzFeed. Well, I'll just do BuzzFeed because New York Times doesn't let you click through. BuzzFeed News. NASA canceled a historic all-woman spacewalk because it could only offer one suit that fit the women. Hillary Clinton was among those who responded to the controversy, writing simply, "Make another suit." NASA is facing an accusation of sexism after it canceled the first ever all-woman spacewalk due to what officials say was a lack of spacesuits that could be made ready that would fit the women. Astronauts Anne McClain and Christina Koch or Koch were scheduled to make their spacewalk together March 29th, but the event was canceled by NASA on Monday, due in part to spacesuit availability. You're telling me you guys were going to send women to space and the suits didn't fit and you didn't know until last second that you had to cancel? Here's the crazy thing. Practice it 30 times with the right suit before you send these women so you don't have to cancel publicly and you just, it's part of the trial. I mean, this is a mainstream article in the New York Times and BuzzFeed.
That you're telling me that they're able to create a vehicle that can go thousands of miles, tens of thousands of miles outside of our atmosphere, through radiation, through the lack of oxygen, through the vacuum of space. They can create that. They can get to the moon. They can land on it. They can drive around in a rover for 15 minutes, and then they can pop back up through the lack of atmosphere from the moon. They can traverse back home in the 1960s before we even had computers, or if we did, they were the size of a football field. And now they can't build a suit that fits a woman. Get out of here.
I believe their narrative on space about as much as I believe that Joe Biden could beat Usain Bolt in a race. It's about, I can, trust me, Jack. I could beat him. I just don't want to do it. I'm busy, but I could. But there's no short. I don't have shorts that fit me, or else I'd run way faster than him. He's like, yo, those guys from Kenya, they're slow compared to me. But I don't want to show you. I just gotta.
Dude, that's wild.
Yeah, and I know I don't think Usain Bolt's actually from Kenya, but everybody knows those Kenyan guys can fly in those.
Oh
races.
Yeah, no, he's Jamaican.
Usain Bolt's Jamaican, yeah, but because I know then people are gonna be like, anomaly. Usain Bolt's not Kenyan, but have you ever watched like a long distance race, dude? The Kenyans.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh no, the Kenyans are long distance runners. The Jamaicans are the sprinters.
Okay, but not everybody. There's some fat, slow people in Jamaica too. Let's just be clear. We gotta, it's like not everyone in Jamaica is fast. There's some fatties. There's some slowies. There's some There's some puffers, some Rastafarians. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I bet you most of those Rastas could beat me in a foot race too.
They put down the weed and just crush. You're like, dang, dude. Like, come on, man. It's just part of culture.
Oh, you think you think you can beat me in a foot race, huh, son?
Dude, this is why the Southern Poverty Law Center comes down on you, dude. See, because
I have fun with Jamaican accents.
Yeah, dude, mine was totally like gentrified and not gentrified. I'm sorry, diverse. That's the wrong word. Yours was like totally messed up. Like everybody in the comments, like, dude, Anomalies was super like nice and respectful, and Clint's was just like crazy, dude. We got to email them again. We're like, we need a follow-up article on that. No, I'm joking.
I've spent a lot of time in Jamaica. my homie Top Lobster just absolutely hates Jamaica, but he goes there all the time just to like complain about the culture. It's hilarious.
It sounds like a terrible vacation, dude.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's just like it is a little bit weird. I don't know. I want you to keep your channel, so I'm not going to talk about it.
I got you. I think I followed him on Twitter, so he's a wild boy.
Oh, but he's nuts.
One of my favorite things is like, Tom Hanks has a son, Chet Hanks, who's like a rapper and just kind of like, he's like half degen, kind of hilarious. But he has a really good Jamaican accent, and it's like really good. It sounds exactly like it. So they always complain, and they have like left-wing activists complaining. And there's this one great YouTube video of like I don't know who it was, but they showed it to like actual Jamaicans, and like every Jamaican loved it. Like an actual Jamaican was like, dude, that's good. And they're like, you're not mad? And he's like, no, that's flattering. That means he loves our culture enough to figure out how to talk like us. But it was like non-Jamaican liberals of all races that were crying about it. It was just so funny when like they'd show it to a Jamaican and they were like actually mad that the Jamaican wasn't mad. They're like, you're not offended by that accent? And he's like, no, man. He's like, that's brilliant. He's like, that's amazing. Like, this guy's awesome. Dude, that guy's
they're like one love, bruv. One love is amazing.
I didn't realize this too, because my friend is a reggae artist, and he did a song with this guy called I think it's not Ja Faith. That's his name, Ja Faith. I had Thanksgiving with him, and he's a Rastafarian guy, older Rastafarian guy, and he's always rapping about Jesus and God and stuff. And I was like, he's Christian, and they're like, yeah, dude, the Rastafarians believe in Jesus. I was like, really? I have to like double check that up, but I was like, that's tight. Let me
honestly, to me, it seems like the Rastas are, they just basically are like Joe Rogan with Christianity, because they just believe that like the pot gets them closer to God. It makes them more mindful. It makes them more loving. I'm like, all right, more power to you, man. It makes me paranoid, but God bless.
They're like chill Christians who just smoke a lot of marijuana. I don't know why,
Yeah,
but here
exactly.
I'm on the Wikipedia. It says Rastafari beliefs are based on a specific interpretation of the Bible.
Hmm.
So I guess they maybe have like a slight, maybe like, I'm not gonna say like Mormons, but you know what I'm saying? It's based off the Bible, but maybe they like just go south. They're like, we love Jesus, but like we also love marijuana. So we gotta
Yeah.
like change that part, just smoke a lot and believe in hell
God
eats a
made
lot.
a plant, boy.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not quite sure, but I love, like, I was listening and he was just rocking Jesus I was like, nice, dude, this is fire.
Dude, I love the energy. Like I've never been a huge fan of Jamaican music because it all sounds the same to me. But
Oh, come
um,
on, man.
I'm just being honest. But the vibe, the lyrics are beautiful. It's like it's just genuinely loving stuff. It's like it's hippie. I love it.
I love Jamaican music. I love reggae. Anything that's like good vibes, good energy, good message.
Yeah.
I think it's I don't know if she's from Jamaica. Actually, I want to look it up right now. But there's a song by Sister Nancy called "Bam Bam." It's such a good song. So bam 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 bilam. Bam.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
you
yeah,
probably.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
she is a Jamaican dancehall recording. That song smacks. And
No, that
apparently,
song's dope.
I looked it up because I was like in love with that song for a while. And apparently it was like a smash hit in America and she was broke and didn't even realize. And then she had to come to America and like sue and get her money because like it was such a hit here. And she was like chilling and was like, wait,
That's
people,
awesome.
people are listening to this. I gotta go get my paper.
Good for
So
her.
yeah. So
That's
I
a
mean,
dude. That song is a banger. I don't really love reggae because it's just the band. It's I don't know. It's not the energy I like, but that song is killer. And there's a bunch of Jamaican songs like you remember Belly back in the day, the movie with Nas.
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
Oh, bro, you gotta see it.
It's a banger.
Yeah, but all right. So they just are constantly like they got these hardcore Jamaican gangsters in it, and they listen to some of the dopest Jamaican music ever in that movie. So you're gonna love it.
I'm on her Wikipedia now, and it says it's one of the most sampled reggae songs of all time. But here it is. It says in 2014, Sister Nancy's daughter pointed out that the song was playing on TV in a Reebok commercial, and thus she finally decided to seek legal advice and guidance on properly obtaining rights to her own music. Ready? For 32 years, Sister Nancy did not receive any royalties on her song for 32 years. At the end of the settlement, she was unable to receive compensation for all 32 years of unpaid royalties, but did receive compensation for the last 10 years and 50% of the rights to her song. So for 32 years, she couldn't get a single dollar. And then when she did, they were like, we can only give it to you for 10. She must have just because even, I do music, so I could tell like the mixing. That song is not mixed very great, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but like there's parts of it where it peaks really loud. Like most professional songs don't peak because they're like mixed and mastered perfectly, where they don't let like the high part get too high. But in that song, this one part, if you're listening on max volume, it gets like too high. Where I bet she just recorded it and like it just became a smash, and I guess she didn't even like register it or have the rights to it because it was such a natural release to the song. Just like I'm vibing out in the studio, it got put out and then just blew up. It's crazy.
Yeah, that is fascinating, and I'm glad she got some money out of it. It's wild that that they got to just use that song for 30 years. I want to know who got the money. Like who got the money for the first 30 years?
Right. That's it. I would have to do a lot of investigation. Yeah, that's crazy. It's like she deserves at least a percentage, whether it's 25, 50. Because maybe someone produced it or whatever, but to give her no royalties for the first 20 years, it seems
Strange.
nuts. I don't know how in the world that happened, but I guess it's all comes down to like the registration. Like if you recorded it and someone had you sign something, or maybe you signed nothing and that person went off, it's crazy. I want to look into that. But anyway, guys, we're going to take it behind the paywall for about 45, 50 minutes. And we're going to talk about Ilhan Omar. What did she say? That like white people or what?
Basically, we need to fear white people more.
We need to fear white men, but isn't she dating or marrying a white guy?
Yeah,
It's always
probably
the case.
Yeah,
she wants a freak. She wants a freak in the streets, and someone not dangerous in the sheets. Something like that.
I'm gonna think of a clever one for the backstage. All right, real quick though, aren't we supposed to be doing the super chats, or are there none?
I didn't see any. So unless they were earlier, let me see if any happened. But yeah, now people don't like me anymore. I don't know what it is. Yeah, I'm
Crazy,
now I'm gonna make people feel bad on Facebook. I can't see the super chats, so I wish I could. But on YouTube, You know, it's just they don't appreciate Anomaly like they used to. I'm like Woody in, Toy Story 1 or 2, where Andy just doesn't want to play with me anymore. So, maybe one day. It's all good, That's why I had to start streamrare.com. I gotta sell hats on the corner like a crackhead. Whatever I gotta do to keep afloat, man, because the super chats just ain't rolling like they used to. But thanks everybody on Patreon and Facebook. We'll be back.
Are we going to where are we? Patreon is the backstage?
Yeah, but
Okay.
we're gonna do it. I'm gonna post it later or early tomorrow, so people aren't gonna see it till then.
Got you. All
right. Dream Rare Podcast, guys. Thanks for joining.
Peace.
Hey, what's going on, my friends? Just a few ways to stay in touch and support if you'd like to. The first way is dreamrare.com. We have blue beanies, black beanies, pink hats, other colored hats, freedom versus tyranny shirts, Stay Blessed long sleeve, God is Great long sleeve, and lots of more cool items coming soon. Dreamrare.com. Check out the shop to support. Everything's made in the United States. Handpicked by me. Patreon.com/raretalk for $5 a month. You can help support me, support the show. If you haven't noticed, unlike other channels, I don't work with very many sponsors, sometimes none at all. And part of the way I'm able to do that is with the dreamrare.com shop and patreon.com/raretalk. So thank you guys for keeping this show free, unimpeded, uninterrupted. I'm forever grateful. My free email list is stayintouchwithme.com. So check the links below in the description or just type in on any browser, stayintouchwithme.com, all one word. You'll find my email list, put it in there, and it's the least annoying email list you'll ever be on. I barely use it because I don't like getting emailed every day or every week. It's annoying. So I don't do it. Stayintouchwithme.com. It helps me take back some power away from big tech. Telegram, t.me/dreamrarechat or @dreamrarechat. Due to censorship, I post all my live stream and videos there. Sometimes I have some bonus content, and I try to give people a heads up when Facebook or YouTube won't. Dream Rare Chat at Telegram. My Instagram is @dreamrare. Thanks for everybody following there for shorter content. And dreamrarelinks.com, that's dreamrarelinks.com, has all my stuff. My podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, my music on Spotify and Apple, my Rumble page, my BitChute and Gab page. All my links are found at dreamrarelinks.com. Thanks for watching, folks. God bless you.